So there I am, scrolling. I don't know why I started off with a scratching head. I knew what I was doing. Scrolling through the news, the West Ham news, looking at what's going on, reading a bit about a heartfelt goodbye from Josh Cullen and the fact that the Premier League will be broadcasting West Ham, well, everyone's games, and allowing the clubs to take the money for it, 14 quid a pop. We'll talk about that tomorrow, maybe. Anyway, and right down the list is a tiny little story about Masuaku getting a knee injury. But whoa, hold press. That's a whopper. That is the news. That's the only news, really. I would expect a nice statement from Josh Cullen. I would expect all the games to be shown while fans aren't allowed into the ground. But Masuaku picking up a knee injury on international duty, whoa, that changes things quite significantly. He's gone from villain to hero, really, hasn't he? Let's be fair. He's gone from dispensable squad player who was our second choice left back and what we consider to be a problem position. Left back was a problem position. We didn't even think our first right back in Aaron Cresswell was good enough. Never mind the second one, Aaron Cresswell. Fast forward a few games, we changed formation. We played with a left wing back. Masuaku looks like one of our best players and he's indispensable. I didn't think we'd get 5 million for the bloke, if the truth be known. I'm talking about, tail end of last season or whatever, as things stood as a left back. Now you look at him operating as a wing back and you're thinking, well, I wouldn't accept double that. So that's how quickly his fortunes have changed. But it's not just his fortunes, it's our fortunes. And we can't really afford to miss him, because if we do miss him, we do lose him, then, there's only I guess there's one of three things that's going to happen, isn't there, really? Because it means either Cresswell moves to left wing back, which I think is not ideal because he's playing quite well in his normal position, and it means he has to run around a lot less. I guess he played on Gello over there on the left-hand side, or they played Ben Johnson there. But again, I would consider Ben Johnson to be a better left-back than a left wing-back, if that makes sense, because I think the defensive part of Johnson's game is better than the attacking part of his game. Anyway, so how does that impact the transfer? Because, as you'll remember, a few days ago, at transfer deadline day, I asked the question, do we need to spend £25-30 million on a centre-back? It wasn't really how much we should spend. The question really was, should buying a centre-back be our priority? And the answers were, they were good. They were good answers, and everybody had different ideas. But surely this now becomes something that we have to look into. And it comes at a time when the first player to pop into my head was Rico Henry. And apparently, I flick on and read something else, that Moyes apparently thinks Rico Henry's too small. I don't know where that's come from, by the way. Oh, excuse me. Beg your pardon. That shouldn't be in view. Get that out of the way. Anyway, so let's just have a look at this. Let's just have a look at the article about Masuaku, because pretty much everything else was ignored. It says, after Masuaku's return to London, suffered a knee injury on his national duty. He was with Congo. He played against Burkina Faso and Morocco. However, he is now flown back to England to undergo treatment on the injury. Masuaku has been in excellent form. Yes, we know that. The Hammers will be waiting with bated breath to see if the left back will be on the sidelines for any length of time. It's a knee injury, isn't it? It's not like it's not like a muscular thing, is it? It's a knee. These things, I'm not saying he's definitely done his ligaments or anything like that, but you don't necessarily rush back a knee injury. Maybe we would have heard more about it, but I tell you what, it does go to highlight the importance of this player and quite how important he's become. Just to touch on briefly, because I want to talk about Joshua King in a second, just to touch on the Rico Henry thing about him being too small. I was initially dismissive of that. I like him. I think he's really good. I liked what I saw when he played against us, and I think he'd be a hell of an attacking threat. And my only worry, my only concern was I didn't think he was defensively brilliant as a left-back. As a wing-back, well, it more or less does what I suggested it did for Masuaku there. He's not the last line of defence, so it's less important. The height thing, I think I instantly scoffed at it, and I thought, the new geezer, Safal, he's not big. Bowen's not. But then I thought, well, hold on a second. We've got a manager here who clearly has a style of play. if that's what he's chosen, then that's what he's chosen. But I do feel it quite odd, bearing in mind he's got Aaron Cresswell, who's not a big man, playing at left centre half. That doesn't make any sense either. So I don't know. Maybe we take those reports with a pinch of salt, but I can't scoff at it too much because we're such an aerial threat now. That aerial threat is obviously part of that is having big players. So if what David Moyes has in mind really is another taller player to cause teams even more mayhem from set plays, and I think one more tall player would absolutely scare the living daylights out of everybody. Then clearly that's what he's decided. The Josh King is a funny one because I mean I certainly hadn't mentioned his name at any point during this transfer window. Not really a name that I've heard anybody particularly bring up. You'd have expected when Callum Wilson moved to Newcastle, you'd have expected Josh King's name to be mentioned alongside that. You know, somebody might say, well, why don't we go and get this player? So it's not like he was in my thoughts, and it's not even like I particularly wanted him. But you deal with them as they come. But it's quite funny, actually, because as soon as I heard the name mentioned, I thought, oh, I like this. This actually makes perfect sense. It's reported that he's a striker, and we've all seen him play up front. But for a long period of time last season, particularly when Ryan Fraser was having his dispute with Bournemouth and Ryan Fraser was running his contract out, it was Joshua King who was playing on the left. He was playing as a left attacker, either be it left wing or a left inside forward. I think he's very fast. I think he's strong. I think he's clear, I was going to say he's mobile. He's clearly mobile. I just said he's fast. Imagine being fast and not being mobile. That'd be a waste, wouldn't it? And I think, you know, he's got an eye for goal, but he's also flexible in the positions that he can play, which I think suits us down to the ground and suits Moyes' philosophy down to the ground as well, just bearing in mind that Moyes changes formation. I also look at Josh King, and I think in the way that, regardless of formation, in the way that Moyes likes to play, which is a very, very quick press and then a drop off, and basically his front players do a lot of hard work, he probably suits the role as a replacement or a substitute for Antonio better than Sebastian Haller does. That's not Sebastian Haller for Antonio is not a like for like replacement. I guess you're not going to get an identical like for like replacement. But when I thought about it, I thought, oh, actually, Josh King comes pretty close actually. And unlike Sebastian Haller, this is where I see the benefit of this transfer. Unlike Sebastian Haller, he can play in numerous positions. So if basically, unless the centre forward position is up for grabs, Sebastian Haller don't play. But I think very much if we're, you know, basically Antonio can still be on the pitch, and maybe they want to, maybe Fornells comes off, or if we're playing 4-4-2 or the winger comes off or something like that, then you put Josh King on. So I think for Josh King can look at the move and think, well, hold on a second, I've got 2 or 3 opportunities to get into the team here. So whilst I think for some players signing for West Ham and not a midfielder, for instance, a midfielder's going to look at signing for West Ham and think, oh, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about this because there's just no way I'm going to get into the team because I need an injury to either Souček or Declan Rice. I think Josh King looks at it very differently. I think there are plenty of opportunities for King and for Antonio to both play at the same time. So I was a little bit disappointed, I've got to say, to see it break down, or to see the report of him. What was it? There was a report. I definitely read something where he didn't fancy it anymore, or something like that. There you go. Joshua King update. Let me just a bit of Jackanory time. Josh King is unlikely to sign for West Ham United next week. The Bournemouth forward who reportedly earns 45 grand a week wants a massive pay rise, almost doubling his wages. Okay, well, yeah, that I understand, but 90 grand a week, he's not going to get 90 grand a week anywhere, let's be fair. And there's certain to be a huge agent's fee involved. When isn't there a huge agent's fee involved? It's amazing that they're still commanding the money that they do, really. This, together with Bournemouth valuation for the 28-year-old, means the chance of signing him before October, the 16th deadline, is seriously slim. Along with the issue of him playing second fiddle to Mikel Antonio, well, I think I just addressed that. There apparently remains interest from Manchester United, really. He was there as a lad. I don't know if you know this. He was there as a lad, and he went to Blackburn, I think, possibly Bournemouth bought him from Blackburn. I may not be right. I mean, we're not talking about a hugely prolific striker here. I know he's played there before, but he doesn't strike me as a Manchester United player. Well, not historically. I mean, perhaps he does now. Perhaps I could probably play for Manchester United now, to be fair. Actually, the article goes on to say started. There you go. He did play for Blackburn Rovers. I was right. He made, he's made 171 appearances for Bournemouth, scored 50 goals. Now, here's the interesting bit. He said he's failed to feature this season. He's not made the matchday squad except for one brief appearance against Norwich in the Championship. So they suggest that they might have been to save him from injury, given questions over his future. I just wonder, I think, if that's what he's doing, if what he's doing is hanging about for Man United to come back in, he might be very, very disappointed. And he's got a choice to make, because it could well be that Man United don't come in and he's stuck at Bournemouth. Bournemouth are not going to play him. And Bournemouth has shown form, I know they've got a different manager now, have shown form for not playing players that are running their contract down. He may not get his 40, he may be stuck not playing football with 45 grand a week. And then if he does that and goes through a whole season not playing football, just collecting his money, it'll get to next year, he'll be 29, and there won't be an awful lot of people that want him anyway. Maybe he does. Maybe he sits tight and sees it out and gets a free transfer somewhere. But do you want to do that at the age of 28, miss a whole year of football? What's he got? 3 or 4 years of football left? Are you really going to miss a whole year of it? I don't know. But look, I don't think anyone's paying him 90 grand a week. If he was on a free, maybe they would. Maybe that's what he's waiting for. But I was disappointed with this. It's quite funny, actually, because I didn't particularly want Tarkowski. I just sort of bought into the fact that the manager wanted him, so I was supportive of that. If the manager wants him, bring him in. I didn't want him. I wanted Rodden. I thought Rodden was the one to go for on that. And it's quite funny when you get linked with these players, and I'm sort of nonplussed. But every so often one comes up and think, that would be a really good one. I think it's a really good fit. And he works really hard as well, and you have that whole mantra from David Moyes, if you don't run, you don't play, and all that sort of thing. I just think that Josh King would have really fitted in well with that. I don't, but not so much that I think we need to nail the deal and give him everything he wants. So I think there needs to be some concession really for some players, which is another thing to discuss at some point in the future, because there's no fans in grounds at the moment. Clubs are going to go to the wall. There are clubs that are going to go bankrupt, not Premier League clubs, granted, but at some point players have to think, okay, maybe I'll concede that a bit, and maybe Josh King, maybe he might want to double his money, and he's on 45 grand a week, which is a very nice wage. I wouldn't mind being that skip myself, but maybe he has to turn around and say, do you know what, I'll take 65 grand a week to get the move and to get playing football, and to get back up into the Premier League. I don't know if that offer was put on the table, whether he'd take it, whether he wouldn't. I guess if he didn't take it and he was more prepared to sit on the bench at Bournemouth for 45 grand a week for a whole year, then he's probably not the type of player we want, and he's probably not the type of player that David Moyes wants. But I quite liked it anyway. That's about it. But the Masuaku one, that's really interesting. That news can't come quickly enough. That's why I uploaded the video now. Saw the news, sat home in my shed. I thought, there you go. We'll have a chat about that. By the way, myself and Gio have got a cup of tea coming up over the weekend, either Saturday, which is tomorrow, or Sunday. So, I'm sure Gio will be putting a post up for that. Get your questions in, and we'll have a good old chinwag on that.